Scene 7. The Man She's With. The next morning at Cobalt Risk and Recovery started quiet, but with tension humming just beneath the surface like an electric fence on standby. Pilar was already at her desk, black lipstick on point, headphones in, coding on one screen and live video scrubs on another. She was the agency's digital backbone. If it was online, she could find it, crack it, trace it, or make it disappear. She pushed her glasses up and called out across the bullpen, "I got him!" Johnny looked up from his glass-walled office. Benjamin stepped out of the kitchen with a protein shake in one hand and a protein bar in the other. "Talk to me." Pilar swung the footage onto the shared screen that hung over the war table. It paused on the man from Silver Lines, the one Nancy had wrapped herself around. "Name's Terrence Lyle," she said. "Goes by T, former pro athlete, minor leagues, basketball. Dropped out after a shoulder injury. Reappeared 3 years ago in corporate consulting." Benjamin frowned. "That's a hell of a career shift." Pilar nodded. "Except, he's not just corporate. He's attached to a private equity group called Alderpath. Deep pockets, private investors, offshore interests, no real public profile." Johnny's eyes narrowed. "That doesn't sound like someone you just date." Pilar tapped a key and pulled up a map with heat zones. "His name's come up on a few dark channel scans, nothing illegal, but he's been in proximity to some shady activity. Think cleanup work, strategic disappearances, offshore restructuring, legit paper trail, dirty fingerprints." Lana walked in, setting her tablet on the table. "What's he doing with a Senate intern?" Pilar didn't blink. "That's the million-dollar question." Benjamin crossed his arms. "Could be blackmail, could be love, could be leverage." Johnny leaned on the edge of the table, eyes still on the screen. "Or all three." A long pause. Then Johnny asked, "What about Nancy?" Lana tapped her screen. "Her record's clean, no priors, not even a parking ticket. Spent 3 years on the dean's list at Howard. Comes from a middle-class family. No known political affiliations, no digital ties to Terrence before this year. It's almost like they fell into orbit out of nowhere." Johnny shook his head. "People don't fall into orbit, they get pulled." Later that day, off-site surveillance, Benjamin sat parked in a matte black Audi Q5 across from a luxury residential tower in the city's downtown core. The building was all glass balconies and concierge confidence, the kind of place where gym memberships were built into rent and everybody had a key fob for the rooftop lounge. He adjusted his earpiece as he spoke into the mic. "Target confirmed entering building at 3:46 p.m., accompanied by male subject Terrence Lyle. No signs of distress. Intimacy level, high. They were holding hands. Her hand was on his chest at the elevator." Back at HQ, Pilar marked timestamps. "Got it. Security cam shows them on floor 20. Corner unit," Benjamin added. "View of the lake. Real nice." Johnny's voice came through over comms. "Do we know if that unit's in his name?" Lana answered. "It's registered under a shell company. Property tax and utilities routed through Alderpath." Johnny exhaled slowly. "So he's keeping her in luxury, without a trace." Benjamin rubbed his jaw. "Side chick energy?" "Could be," Johnny said, "but Nancy's too smart to get caught in a cliché. Unless she thinks she's the main." That night, Johnny's condo. Johnny stood on his balcony, city lights blinking like a million secrets below. He held a glass of Bordeaux, still dressed from the day, shirt sleeves rolled, vest open, tie gone. Carrie joined him, barefoot, hoodie wrapped, sipping chamomile tea. "You look like you're thinking too hard," she said. "I usually am." She leaned on the railing beside him. "Want to talk about it?" He took a sip before answering. "We're tailing a woman who doesn't know she's being played by someone 10 levels above her. She's in love with a chess piece." Carrie raised an eyebrow. "That sounds poetic." "It's dangerous," Johnny corrected. "Because if she doesn't know what he is, she'll never see the fallout coming. You ever think about telling these people the truth? Like, for real?" Johnny looked at her. "They don't hire us for truth, they hire us for proof." Carrie sighed. "Same game, different heartbreak." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, except this time I think someone's playing us too." Scene 8. The warning. The next morning was wrapped in fog, a rare gray curtain over the city that blurred skylines and softened sharp edges. It was the kind of morning that made people drive slower and think longer. Inside the Cobalt office, the fog had followed them in, not in the air, but in the tension. Johnny stood in the war room, arms folded, staring at the still frame of Terrence Lyle on the monitor. He looked calm in the image, hand casually resting on Nancy's hip, sunglasses tucked into his shirt collar like a man with nothing to hide. Except everything about him was hiding. Pilar sat at the conference table, typing furiously. I've run this guy through every digital alley I know, no social profiles, barely any online presence, even his basketball days, scrubbed clean except for old rosters and dead links. Benjamin leaned in. Who's that quiet in 2025? Lana entered with a file in hand and a look that said bad news first. I ran a trace on Alder Path, she said. Found a Dropbox account with duplicate financial logs, dummy shell companies, and something weird. One document flagged a name I haven't heard in years. Johnny looked over. Whose? Lana hesitated. Darius Vaughn. The room chilled. Benjamin stood up straight. No way, he's dead. Apparently not, she replied. At least not digitally. Pilar looked up. Who the hell is Darius Vaughn? Johnny's tone dropped. A fixer, international contracts, ex-military, deep ties to private intel networks and government ghost projects. Disappeared 5 years ago after a mess in Dubai. His name showing up now? Not an accident. Pilar's fingers hovered over her keyboard. Are you saying this Terrence guy might be connected to that Vaughn? Johnny nodded. If Vaughn is even alive, Terrence might be one of his. Benjamin exhaled. This is way deeper than we thought. Lana slid the file across the table. We may have tripped something. Johnny picked it up. Inside were a series of encrypted messages, recovered by Pilar through a compromised email server attached to Alder Path. Most were innocuous, but one stood out. It had no subject, no header, just a time, and a single sentence. Back off, or your family learns what silence costs. Everyone in the room went quiet. Johnny's jaw clenched. Benjamin's fists balled slowly. They know we're watching. Pilar looked around the room. This just stopped being a case. Johnny nodded. It's a warning. Later that day, Johnny's condo. Johnny entered his home like a soldier checking corners. He didn't usually feel this way, on edge, calculating shadows, but today felt different. Maya was home early from school, lounging on the carpet, drawing rainbows with metallic markers. Carrie was cooking something that smelled like roasted garlic and jasmine rice. Johnny sat beside Maya and smiled. What you making? She pointed proudly. It's us, me, you, and Auntie Carrie, and a unicorn. Johnny raised an eyebrow. Who's the unicorn? You. Duh. He laughed. I'm flattered. Maya went back to drawing, humming. Johnny looked toward the kitchen. You locked the doors when you got home? Carrie glanced over. Of course, why? Just checking. Carrie paused. What's going on? He stood up slowly. Work might have touched something it wasn't supposed to. Her eyes sharpened. You need to tell me if I need to go somewhere else. He shook his head. Not yet. But you will? I promise. She nodded once and went back to the stove, but her jaw was tight now. Elsewhere. Unknown location. Terrence sat across from a man in a charcoal suit, his face in silhouette. You've been seen, the voice said. Calm, measured. Terrence took a slow sip of water. Expected. They'll keep digging, Terrence nodded. And Johnny Donnelly? A pro, Terrence said. Won't stop. The man in the shadows leaned forward, revealing only a scar across his left cheek. Then handle it, quietly. We can't afford loose ends. Terrence looked down at the photo of Nancy in the folder beside him. He closed it. I'll handle it. Scene 9. Smoke in the system. The first sign that something was off came in the smallest way. Lana arrived at the Cobalt office just after 8 a.m., the heel of her Louboutin catching on the polished concrete floor, something it never did. She glanced down, frowning. The floor, always freshly buffed and spotless, had faint smudges by the glass entryway, like someone had been there, someone who didn't belong. She moved to her desk. Everything looked normal, but something in the air felt touched. She sat, logged into her workstation, and immediately froze. Error 409, file path corrupted. The message blinked on her screen, red and smug. Her fingers flew across the keys. Backup drives, wiped, admin folder, locked. Even the internal case notes had been scrambled, lines of code jumbled like someone wanted her to know exactly how deep they'd reached. She picked up her phone and hit Johnny's direct line. Get in here, now! 30 minutes later, the war room was humming with tension. Johnny stood by the whiteboard, reading the list of corrupted files. Benjamin paced with a look that teetered between calculated fury and restraint. Pilar sat with a pair of headphones around her neck, typing furiously, her vibe more hacker in a heist film than ever. "We've been hit," Lana said flatly, "and not by some intern with a keylogger. This was precision." Benjamin slammed a fist into his palm. "They didn't just tap us, they walked right in." Johnny's tone was sharp. "Anything they take?" Lana shook her head. "Not yet. They didn't copy. They erased traces, searched, covered, like they were looking for something specific." Johnny turned to Pilar. "What about the off-grid backups?" Pilar pulled up a different screen. "Still clean, air-gapped and offline. They didn't touch the raw footage from Silver Lines." "Good," Johnny replied. "We still have proof." Benjamin leaned against the table. "For now, what happens if they try again?" Johnny's jaw tightened. "We take the fight to them." That afternoon, field surveillance. Benjamin sat inside a rental BMW X6, tinted windows up, parked 2 blocks from the Alderpath satellite office downtown, a black glass cube that looked more like a tech startup than a finance front. He was watching Terrence. The man moved differently now, less casual, less warm. He greeted no one. He entered with a key fob, glanced over his shoulder, and disappeared inside. Benjamin watched the cameras through his dash console. Live feed patched from a nearby rooftop cam Pilar had secured the night before. "Yo," he said through the comms. "He's nervous. He's looking over his shoulder. We rattled him." Lana's voice came through. "You think he knows it was us?" "I think he knows it was someone," Benjamin replied. "And I think he's about to make a move." Johnny chimed in. "Then let's beat him to it. Can you tail him after work?" "Already planning to," Benjamin said, sipping his iced coffee. "Wore my black Timbs means I'm serious." That night, Johnny's condo. Johnny returned home to find the lights already on. His heart stalled. He always turned them off before leaving. He pulled the Glock from the safe panel by the entry, his version of insurance, and crept forward. The living room was empty, kitchen empty. Then he heard it. The sound of cartoons and the soft giggle of his daughter. He exhaled. Maya. Carrie peeked her head around the corner. "Relax, Rambo. It's just us." Johnny lowered the gun, set it gently on the counter, and blew out a breath. "I thought I told you to text me if you got in early." Carrie held up her phone. "I did. Your signal must have been jammed or something." His eyes narrowed. "What do you mean, jammed?" Carrie shrugged. "I tried to FaceTime you twice. Said your number wasn't reachable." He checked his phone. 2 missed calls. 1 message from an unknown number. "You have until Friday to walk away. This isn't your story." No name, no contact, no reply option. Meanwhile, Pilar's apartment. Pilar sat cross-legged on her high-rise balcony, sipping mango tea and scanning through her laptop. Her home was industrial and creative. Plants in every corner, art canvases drying near the window, and a record player spinning a lo-fi remix of Sade. Her fingers tapped. She broke the encryption. A firewall opened like an eye, and what she saw made her sit up straight. A list, a target list. At the top, Cobalt Risk and Recovery. Right under it, Michael Johnny Donnelly, Benjamin King, Pilar Nunez, Lana Reeves, and Nancy Phillips.
If you're enjoying the experience so far, don't forget to click that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk characters, plot twists and theories. Subscribe to stay updated on every new chapter. Stay tuned for the next part of our 4-part episode.